All right, so what we got to do is I need to know how that's going to go. I was thinking that you were going to open it up, real talk, blah, 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 and then announce. We just got the chit chatting, and I just felt like this needed to be recorded. We're just going to keep our conversation before the show. Or do you want to just go right into it?
Well, I tell you one thing I won't do. I'm not going to introduce this as real talk. This is two fans, 12 rings. It's your boy Jeff, Brad. What's going on, you twisted tree drunk gambling?
No way. I just said real.
You did. You did. It's all right, though.
There's
you know,
no words
200 plus eppies. 200 plus eppies. It makes sense. But here we are. I'll tell you what. We'll just go straight into it. So, gambling. You know, I'm betting more than I have.
Why don't you hit record and you say,
"Bro, I'm already hitting record. We're already here.
Oh, shit.
We are recording right now.
I don't know what's going on.
Listen, guys, just here we are. This is authentic as it gets. So, I'm fighting the win a little, win a lot battle. Smart bets that win little versus larger bets that win lots. You know what I mean? It's just like that constant dabbling with, should I be cashing out? Should I not? Should I let it run? Should I not? Should I take for instance, what were you about to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a few rules to gambling, I think, and I've been gambling for almost 2 years now, and I've done quite a bit of losing and winning. I've been on stretches where I've lost $500 over a month. I've been on stretches where I've won $1,400 on one bet. So I just think that the first rule, not to get too much into this, but the first rule is you have to bet within your means.
Yeah.
Put it in your budget like it's a bill. This is how much money you can allot to betting and let that build up. But one of the biggest things is losing bets win zero. It's always cool to think your $5 can turn into 130. But there's a reason why that misses so much too. So what I like to do is I'm just going to focus on you, Jeff. And if you, the listener, if this pertains to you, feel free to take it. You know a lot, or at least you feel you know a lot about football. You have a good grasp on it, college and pro.
Yeah.
So what I do, and this is for me personally, my budget builds off of the $10 mark. What that means is if yours is $1 or if yours is $100, if you like a spread, that's what you're going to bet on it. For me, I bet whatever it takes to win $10 on a spread. So if I look at a game and it's plus, let's just do Notre Dame, Ohio State. And this is all hypothetical, but the meaning of it is real. I see Notre Dame's plus 3.5. I like that spread, so I'm going to bet whatever it takes to win 10. But what you could do in your own mind is you look at a matchup and you make the spread yourself first.
Always do that. Yeah.
So say in my head, I'm like, it should be Notre Dame plus 1.5. They're at home. Okay. If my budget's $10, for every point I'm getting more on Notre Dame, I should add my budget again. So if it's 1.5, I'll put 10 on Notre Dame. If it's 2.5, I'll put 20. If it's 3.5, I'll put 30. You're basically putting your numerical value on the point. Because if you take 10 college games and bet $10 across all 10, you might go 6-4 and pretty much break even. But what if 4 of your 6 wins were the games you're like, dude, I knew, like those are my favorite 4. You need to put more on that so that you can benefit more off of them. And also, sometimes I feel this way. In my personal ways, you never bet against the boys. If you think they're going to win, you bet on them. If you don't think they're going to win, you don't bet for them. But somewhere I've changed, and it's helped me learn money, is there's no team I know better than my own teams. If I feel they're going to lose, I bet against them. You cannot feel dirty to make money using sports. You cheer for your team.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that sometimes you shy away from betting against your own team because you're like, oh, if I win, I lose money. But more often than not, your mind is right on your team. Your heart is always going to be in it for your team, but you have to be able to separate the difference. But going back, make the spread on your own, and then bet more or less according to how far away it is from what you thought it would be.
So what is your opinion on a lock bet that the odds are just not in the favor. So, for instance, this is very common in UFC, for instance, where there's a guy that's a heavy favorite. In order to win money, you have to bet a lot. So, for instance, this Thursday night, do you know what the Thursday night game is?
Yeah, San Francisco without Saquon, now they're minus 10.5, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I'm considering this a lock for the Niners. Money line lock. Okay. It's minus 550. Do you think it's stupid to bet $100 to win $18?
I do if that like kind of can compromise your budget. You don't want to lose $100 and then sit in your bed at night and be like, just to win 10, what was I thinking?
So let's say you've won $200. So you're up 200 and you took all 200 to win 40. Opinions.
I think you could do that, but what I would do with my budget, feeling like a lot of people listening kind of bet the same. You know, Colin Cowherd pointed out that DraftKings this year, the average bet on a game is $4.
Yeah, I heard that.
You do not need to feel weird if you're betting 10 or 20. But what I would do is I would then, if you think that's a lock, I would then begin to do same game parlays and incorporate mini props to get it back down to an even bet. So, for instance, the 49ers are minus 10.5. Why not also attach that the 49ers will be winning at halftime and at the end of the game? Why not incorporate wire to wire, meaning at the end of every quarter, the 49ers will be winning? Do something like that. Not necessarily player passing yards or rushing yards, but on the entire game as a whole to try and just show that you're favoring the 49ers to run away with this game. Bet 49ers money line and for them to be winning at half. Or try and find something to where they never lose the lead. You know, try and incorporate something like that. Or just be willing to say, you know what? The price is just too big. Maybe I do an alt spread, or maybe I just realize I don't need to bet on every game. You don't want to go outside of your budget just because you think something's a lock, even though the 49ers, we may get into it, should kill the Giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully anything I've said or any questions you have, I'm willing to answer. But this year in week 0 of the college football, I was plus 210. In week 1 of college football, I was plus 258. And in last weekend, college and pro combined, I was plus 58. So I've been having a tremendous season. It was down last week because I've been hitting fantastically. Just to toot my own horn, college football, I have been on fire. But last week, every spread was minus 27, minus 28, and I just kind of stayed away. But yeah, you just got to find a way, find a structure. Don't just think of random games. Kind of look into how you go about diagnosing. Think of it a little deeper, because this isn't a way for you to replace your job, but you could get an extra 50 to 100 every week, or over the course of a month, maybe an extra paycheck. You don't ever need to risk feeling good about betting to try and win the $300. Last thing, I bet on college and pro. I put all my bets in for the entire weekend on Friday. All of my money I have allotted to betting. If I have a tremendous day Saturday, I'll take 20 to 30% of my winnings and then do parlays and teasers and try and mess around with red zone featured, stuff to try and see if I can hit like a skyrocket. But you always want to try and make sure, whether it's $1 or 100 or 1,000, you want to be making money every weekend. That's priority, not how much, just that you're in the green. You have to keep telling yourself, being in the green matters more than how far you are into the green. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think I talked about it on one of the podcasts, maybe this one, maybe a different one, but week 0, I didn't bet anything. Week 1 of college football, I was in the green over $200, and I did not walk away because I was trying to hit another $120-ish. And Clemson lost to Duke. Duke's a much better team than I thought they were. And Clemson's a much worse team.
You did mention it.
Yeah. And then week 2, I had a perfect college day. I went perfect again. And the very last one, I was trying to hit another, I think it was $80 to $100 on the Izzy fight. And unfortunately, Izzy lost to Strickland, and I lost that parlay. So I lost over $300. I didn't lose over $300. I lost a total of, I think, $30-ish, but I lost in cash out opportunities. Yeah. Potential cash out opportunities. I lost over 300. And then this past week, I made a $200 profit. So sitting pretty good now. You know, I had lost some of my winnings on the Patriots and I regained them on Monday night. Altogether on the entire year, I think I'm like either plus or minus $20 somewhere in there. It's not a lot. I don't bet a ton, but I'm starting to bet more because I'm being more strategical rather than trying to get $1,000 today. Like I'm ready trying to win $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I told you this kind of before the podcast. I try and do my 5 locks every week. And I have friends over to my garage and I write them down on a whiteboard and tell people, if you want to follow me, you can take any of the bets I place. I write them all down. But my locks are my locks for a reason. I put more time into listening to sports podcasts and doing my own than a lot of people do. So follow me on the locks. So in a strategic way, I bet more than $10 on all my locks. I went 3-1-1. 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie, which means I got my money back. And it was groovy. However, I looked at my locks and I said all 5 of my locks are favorites. So I took the 4 on Sunday. And instead of betting spread, I took those 4 teams on the money line and parlayed it for $20 to win 31. Now, my only loss against the spread on Sunday was Giants minus 4.5. But they won the game. Yeah. And my parlay hit. It was Bucks, 49ers, which tied. Bucks, 49ers, Giants, and another team. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, if you realize that my 5 best bets are all favorites, why not money line them in a parlay for a little bit of money to try and cover that gap of them just not beating teams by enough? There's just ways to work through it and work around it. But that is my tidbit on this beginning little.
One last thing, and then we'll move on. $10 parlay. Okay, I think it was 8 leg. Pays out $3,000. Okay. And it was on a lot of road dogs or a lot of dogs that I liked. So I was kind of parlaying them. In the first 10 minutes that the parlay existed, it allowed me to cash out for 25. Would you have done it right then and there?
8 dogs, you said was a parlay?
It wasn't all dogs, but there was like 4 dogs in it that I really liked. The team that ended up causing me to lose the bet was the Raiders. They took an early lead though, which skyrocketed it. Yeah.
Hey, one of my locks was the one I forgot. Bills minus 8.5 was the 4th lock.
It was just like, I could literally pull this out right now, double my money and move on. But it was $10. You know what I mean? I'm trying to hit that $3,000. But
actually, I know we're rambling here. That's what the pod's about. I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah.
Two small things to shoot back and forth here. I already forgot the first one, so we'll just go to the second one. My buddy put together an 8-leg parlay over 2 days. It was $5 to win $1,400.
Yeah.
The first 7 hit, and his cash out was for $800. And I didn't know this. It was during Sunday, my volleyball tournament. And he came over to the shed where I was, and his last bet was the Seahawks to beat the Rams. And the Seahawks were up 13-6 at halftime, and the cash out said $800. And he said, "What should I do, Brad?" I looked at him and I said, "If you bet 250 on the Rams right now, how much would it win you?" And he said something. Then I said 300. So $300 would win him 1,100. So let's do some math. If the Seahawks win, you'd win your parlay for 1,400, but lose 300 because the Rams lost, and you'd profit 1,100. Let's say the Rams win. You'd lose your $5 because the Seahawks lost, but you'd win 1,100 from the Rams. Guess what happens in either scenario, my friend? You've won 1,100. So if you're thinking about doing some long stretch parlays on a Sunday, maybe attach Monday night, or maybe attach Sunday night, or your last game, maybe that's at a different time. So you have that little bit of time to say, you know what? I've gotten way more than I've asked for here. Let's just take it and go. Again, being in the green is more important than how far you are into the green.
Amen. So if you listen to last week's first pod, we did 2 guys, 12 two fans, 12 takes. that was one of my takes, just gambling. I wanted to talk a little bit about sports gambling, and here we are. That's 14 minutes deep, so I'll check that one off right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead with whatever you got to kind of start.
Yeah, my first take selfishly was about my Steelers. Got the dub, but let's just talk about it. I'm going to write what my quick note says. Steelers, offensive coordinator / quarterback, comma, unreal roster. Aside from being 1-1, and most people who watch this thinking the Steelers should be 0-2, the Steelers are everything I said they would be, except at the quarterback / offensive coordinator spot. I just wanted to take a second to point out the defense, what they've done. I said it would be a top 3 defense, no question. What we've seen out of the 49ers, Cowboys, Commanders a little bit, Jets a little bit. You know, there are great defenses, but the Steelers are one of them. But I just wanted to take a second that a lot of people are killing Matt Canada. And by all means, I want him gone too. I put out a stat last week. I won't go too far into the Steelers right now. We'll hit on them later. I have a feeling some of our mailbag will probably be about it. I know, Dave, you're a big listener. You usually post about them. But we got to see better from Kenny. It's not all on the OC, and I just wanted to get that out early for Steelers fans who may be listening.
Can I ask your opinion on the run game?
The Steelers run game?
Yeah, like what? Because you just said the Steelers are everything you thought they would be except the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. What about the run game? Because it's not good.
The run game is also about the offensive coordinator. So we have a young quarterback, and you got to point out we've faced 2 really good defenses / pass rushes in the Browns and 49ers.
That's fair. That's a fair argument.
It seems like our young quarterback, if you look across a lot of other teams, there's anywhere from 6 to 10 easy completions. And remember how in gambling I said it's not about how far you are into the green, it's about being in the green? Those can be 1 or 2 yards. The Steelers have none of that. There's plays where Kenny's getting the ball in shotgun where he has a wide receiver and a running back running across his face to be misdirection, and his line's getting pushed backwards, and he's looking at where the rush is more than where the receivers are. And Najee Harris does not have elite speed. He's a bully back. And every time I see Najee get it, they're having him run east and west. They're running tosses, halfback sweeps out of the shotgun. Sometimes it's okay to line up and tell the other team we're running the ball and just let our offensive linemen, who may not be the best, just get some confidence going forward. I think most defenses against most offenses in today's NFL are saying eliminate the big play, give them their few yards, and we'll crunch up the closer they get to the end zone. I feel like the Steelers are on their own 30, and defenses are in their red zone defense against us already because there's nothing simple. Everything has a misdirection and a fake handoff. Read this. It's too much for a young quarterback. Yeah, like I said, Kenny's got to realize, okay, do I hand it to the receiver? Everyone, were you watching the Steelers game?
I watched all of it.
You remember in I think it was fourth quarter, it was like 3rd and 6, and Kenny didn't hand it to Najee and took a run and got tackled by 2 guys 6 yards in the backfield. Why don't you just have Najee block there and send 3 guys on routes and let Kenny see what he can do and run if nothing works? Why are we putting so much on Kenny's play on every single drive? We had a drive in the 3rd quarter where we had a 12-yard run, a 7-yard run, a 5-yard run, 2 first downs, and then we ran a jet sweep, and then we ran this counter, and it just kills the momentum of the drive. I just think the run game is way too complex for a line that's not built for it. I just think we're trying way too hard to show that we're clever when that's not what we need. If we can get some yards, even if we punt, our defense showed what they could do yesterday. They fucking scored 14 points on their own. I mean, you got me high-stepping through the house, screaming, fuck the offense, defense will do it. Sorry for my language. I'm just getting a little fired up about what I saw Monday night. Our team, outside of this, what has happened? Our punter did good. Chris Boswell's money. Our defense is elite. George Pickens is a guy. We have the young talent and ability, but it just seems like we are wasting so much time with what our offense is doing. And I know people don't necessarily want to just listen to the Steelers, but I just don't think that this is like a new take. You guys saw the Steelers Monday night. And if you didn't, guess who's coming up on Sunday night versus the Raiders? The Steelers. So you're going to see it again. It's in primetime back-to-back weeks. And this has been happening since the beginning of 2021. Happened with Ben, Trubisky, Rudolph, Pickett, all of which guys. Rudolph had some success in college. Pickett had some success in college. Trubisky went 13-3 with the Bears. Big Ben's done what he's done. It just seems like in the fourth quarter, when we have to play straightforward, quick, like comeback games, our offense works, but we fail to do that in the other three quarters, and it's very frustrating.
You pointed something out. I didn't even realize it. Who are the four best pass rushers in the league? Would you agree that it's these four people? Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and Aaron Donald.
Yeah, TJ Watt and Max Crosby, obviously, okay. I think are the other two. But again, yes.
Okay, so TJ's on your team. The other two of the other ones you've played. So that is very tough. I wasn't thinking about that.
And Max Crosby's coming up this week with Tyree Wilson out of Temple. Now, their secondary is not as good. But again, it's like, now we got, I mean, I don't know what Will Anderson Jr. is, but yes, the first two teams we've played, 49ers, one of the other elite defenses, and the Browns, they had some injuries on the back end, but Garrett, Zadarius Smith, some of that interior D-line, that's a real defense.
Yeah. So this is two fans, 12 rings. The 12 rings are the Steelers and the Patriots. Tune in. We're going to talk football. We're also going to talk about our teams here. So I've just gotten, it's just so increasingly frustrated with. I said this in the breakdown. I said this in other pods. I've said this a lot, that New England has been able to beat literally every single team in the league that doesn't have a good quarterback. And I'm not super high on Tua, but he's very good with the Dolphins. He's very good when he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And it's just like New England can't beat good football teams. They can beat down the Texans and the Colts and the Jets and the Cardinals and all these teams. We beat them down better than any other team in the league, it seems like. You know, you got random teams like the Chiefs that can't beat the Colts on a week 2 game last year, but God forbid we play the Colts. We're going to smash them. But we can't beat these other teams like the Eagles and the Dolphins and the Bills. And it's so increasingly frustrating. And we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Week 1, it's 4th down calls. This week, it's turnovers. I'm not here that Mac's the problem. He's part of the problem. The offensive play calling has been improved, but I'm sorry, like late in the game, Max throwing a stupid ass interception, Devontae Parker locked up by Xavier Howard. You know how many career picks Mac Jones has thrown to freaking Xavier Howard? I think it's up to 4.
I know Xavier Howard has a lot on his own. He's no joke.
But literally, so I'm texting. Shout out Jeff Halbert. We're texting during the game, and as soon as he throws this pick to Devontae Parker to Xavier Howard, I literally texted Jeff. This is the exact same pick he threw week 1 of last year at the Dolphins. In the corner to Devontae, Xavier picks it off. Like, you have to be better. You have to be smarter. And, you know, Bill Belichick benching freaking rookies that fumble. Like, I'm sorry, we're not the Super Bowl champs anymore. We're not talented enough for you to be benching guys over fumbles. You know, you bring in Zeke, you paid him, God, I think he got like $6 or $7 million. For what? He was basically inactive week 2. You know who would have been active and probably would have drugged the toe week 1? DeAndre Hopkins. We're spending money in stupid places. We're throwing interceptions. We're turning the ball over. Our defense is fantastic, but it means nothing when you can't score any points. If you hold a team to 24 points in this league, you should get the dub. You should get a fucking dub, and we can't get one to save our damn lives. And I think the last thing, and I've said this so many times, I've worn out, but I just like to get that jab in there if you're listening. Where's the system at? Where did the system go? Where did it go? Did it just vanish? No, it fucking re-signed with the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2020 and left our ass high and dry, and it's never come back. Enough with the damn system talk. It's so old.
Tom Brady's not playing anymore. There's no reason to keep hating. Okay, guys, I know me and most of my friends, if not all of them, we've hopped up. Tom Brady's the best quarterback ever. We'll see if Mahomes can overtake him. Still got 5 more to go. But in terms of the Patriots, I just do want to say, not that I'm always out here to defend my own rep and everything matters. I had the Patriots at 0-2, and I still had them at 9-8 in my record prediction. So I don't feel like anything's changed. But I feel our teams are very similar.
They're very similar.
Defensive-minded head coach. We have elite defenses. But like you said, I think I've put the number there at 24. And 24 is it can go either way, analyze the game. But if you score more than 24 and lose, it's on the defense. If you score less than 24 and win, it's on the defense. So if you scored 24, you have to analyze the game. But I just think this Patriots are 0-2. And it sucks. But they played what anyone could argue as the best team in the AFC and the best team in the NFC. And they've played them very well and feel like they should have won. If anything, I had the Patriots at 9-8. I still feel better about the Patriots now than I did before the season.
I'm glad you do. I understand the optimism. I understand the optimism, but it's hard for me to be optimistic when the game is kind of close and it reflects to being close, but there's certain things that we're doing that I just don't see an end in sight. Like, there's this reporter that follows the Patriots. A lot of you guys probably don't heard him. NBC, Tom Curran. Okay. He's a reporter, but he tends to be a Patriot fan, so to speak. Like, he talks as if he enjoys the team. Some guys just report on the team, okay? So he said something the other day. He goes, Bill Belichick teams don't turn the ball over. He goes, I need to stop saying that because that's not true.
Tom Brady didn't turn the ball over.
Tom Brady teams didn't turn the ball over. It's not true that Bill Belichick teams don't make mistakes. It's just really, if you start the trend from 2020 to now, it's just that's what we do. This is who we are now. We're good defense. We're well coached, but we turn the ball over. We just turn the ball over. And it's like Chris Collinsworth said something Sunday night, and it's so true. And I gave you the stat before the season. If I told you that there was a stat where the top 8 teams all made the playoffs, would you say it's a good stat? You said yes. I said it's explosiveness. Plays of 15 yards or more. Okay. Chris Collinsworth said, he goes, New England's actually really methodical. They're really good at moving the ball, except they have no explosive plays, and you can't expect a team to go methodically the entire game.
Yeah.
It's so true. You cannot expect any team in this league to go 15 plays 6 times. It doesn't happen. You have to have a 30 or 40 yarder somewhere. And it's just like, here's where we are. Here's where we are.
Yeah, it's tough. 0-2 is never a good look. You hate to be those teams. Nothing I can really do to pick you up. I just looking at the Patriots schedule. Don't get much easier. Don't get much easier.
If the Jets beat us, I'm done.
Well, yeah,
thanks for Caleb.
There is a stretch in the middle of the season where you have Commanders, Colts, Giants, Chargers, Steelers. That's a 5 week straight where you can enjoy a lot. But before that, you have Jets, Cowboys, Saints.
I love how we're just throwing the Commanders out like they're not 2-0.
I'm just saying, win them.
We're 0-2.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm being pessimistic, I know.
But you are right, and that's that. I take it that was your second take.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before we move off, just a little peep here if you're listening. I'm not going to get into it on the pod, but if you're ever with me face to face, I will not stand for this Chris Collinsworth slander. I love him.
Collinsworth.
Dude, so many people don't.
I know. What's the deal? He does over exaggerate the big ones like Mahomes.
Here's a guy who shows up on Sunday nights and just delivers, man.
Yeah.
Why do you have to learn every time someone? Can't you just chuckle at what he says? Can't you just enjoy the corniness a little? He does such a good job. I love Chris Collinsworth. Go to my second take here. I'm going to call this bet regret. Not for what I placed and was wrong, but for what I didn't place. I felt it in here, and I should have placed a parlay bet on the Bengals and Vikings to miss the playoffs. It's just not it.
It'd be a horrible bet.
Neither of them are. I will just reiterate. Listen, if you listen to the podcast, go back and peep week 1. Chris or Jeff and I will say the same thing about the Vikings last week as it did this week. However, with the Vikings going forward, might touch on this again, but 0-2 Vikings, 0-2 Chargers this Sunday. Season on the line.
What are you going to say when the Vikings put it down on them?
Chargers are one of my 5 locks. Peep the whiteboard on Sunday morning. They're beating the Vikings.
Not
so we disagree there. That's some fun. Secondly, the Bengals. It was their defense. I don't think is good enough. But secondly, I get it why it's hot. The Bengals were plus or minus 6.5. It's dropped all the way to 2.5. I think there's a chance Burrow doesn't play Monday night. Get the Rams why it's hot. Brad's betting predictions here. Get it before the line goes too far. The Bengals are losing on Monday night as well. But Joe Burrow, this calf is real. He's already re-aggravated after rest. He's going to be fighting it all season. T. Higgins once out. Could have traded him for a first rounder. They thought they were close. Not going to work. I'm not saying the Bengals next year won't go 13-4. But this year, there's just so much that I think is going wrong. The Browns match up well against them. Have already beat them. The Steelers, for some reason, even though they haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years, still play well a lot against Burrow. The Ravens seem to be really good this year. Their offense is clicking, and they're already 0-2 in the league, 0-2 in the conference, 0-2 in the division. They started 0-2 last year. Things can change, but last year's vibe was a lot different than this year's. I don't think it looks good for the Bengals or the Vikings, but I have Bengals and Vikings bet regret, and that's just how I feel about it because these two teams, I can only imagine what the odds were if you parlayed them together to miss the playoffs. It's probably a pretty nice payday. And I know it's only 2 weeks in, but it's how I feel.
So my next take / topic is overreaction of the 0-2 teams. So there's a couple of teams here that fall into this category.
Yeah.
I'm probably overreacting on the Patriots because I thought they were an 11-win team. They're probably not. Maybe they're a 7 to 8 win to 9 win team. And this is probably on pace for what they're going to be this year, and they're probably fine I'm overreacting. The Bengals. There is a cause for concern, but it is the most overreacting team in all of the media right now. Do you know what the Bengals started last year?
1-2.
0-2. And they were playing in the fourth quarter with the lead at Arrowhead, the team that won the Super Bowl. So let's just pump the brakes. Joe Burrow literally came back from an injury, didn't throw any balls in the preseason, struggled week 1, looked horrible. Week 2, he came on later in the second half. The Rams better hope he doesn't play week 3. They better hope he doesn't play. Okay? Next one, Texans. No overreaction there. This is kind of what the Texans are. Chargers. I heard something by Nick Wright. I'm going to shout out Nick right here. Justin Herbert is not the problem, but he's paid to be the solution.
Ooh, Nick Wright with a bar.
Yeah. And unfortunately, not enough's being done. They need to fire their coach quickly. They need to get embarrassed this week by the Vikings to drop to 0-3, and I think they fire him. Okay. Broncos, yeah, they're bad. I told you one of my adjustments before the season started on the 0-2 Broncos was that I did not like what I seen from the preseason. I knew it was preseason, but it just looked off. They're going downhill, and their coach is already just absolutely throwing Russell Wilson under the bus, and I love to see it. Vikings. They've turned the ball over a shit ton, an absolute shit ton, and they're scoring on everyone. The turnovers will stop. They'll win games. Settle down on the Vikes, okay? The Bears, I was just too high on them.
Dude,
They're still the Bears, dude. They're still bad. They're still really bad. And then the Cardinals as bad as we thought they were.
I just want to say, since all I'm going to push back on, I'm not going to push back on each team individually. I'll just say 0-2 is a real thing. Not over exaggerating because of this stat here. Since 1980, 43 years, there have been 176 teams to start 0-3. Jeff, how many make the playoffs?
0-3.
0-3. How
Very
many?
short. I'm going to say 2 to 3.
It's 6.
Oh, okay. I
But
thought it was shorter than that.
out of 176 teams to start 0-3. So maybe you can say, well, Brad, Jeff said 0-2. Don't overact. He's right. Sure. But if they lose next week, it's all but shot. And when you talk about the Charger, but I just want to say, when you talk about I know there's a 7th team now. When you talk about Chargers and the Bengals, it's pretty loaded AFC. But I'm going to use this to roll into my next topic, Jeff.
Real quick, well, don't move on quick.
Go ahead.
I have one quick rebuttal.
Sure.
You already want to jump ship, and that's fine. The Vikings are playing the Chargers. Both teams are 0-2. Somebody has to move to 0-3. I don't think the loser's dead, potentially. The Bengals are playing the Rams, a team that I initially had at 8 wins, regressed them to 4, and now I need to regress them right back. They're a growing team. That wouldn't be a death sentence. So it's just like, it'd be one thing if they're losing to the Cardinals or losing to the Colts or the Texans. Dude, the Bengals looked really rough week 1, and they lost to a team that I have in my top 5 spoiler week 2 by 3 points. I'm going to pump the brakes.
You guys could say, what's the biggest thing about this podcast? Is it the rivalry between your Colts and your Titans? Is it the Steelers and Patriots? No, the biggest battle is the fact that I could sit on this computer for 9 hours and argue Jeff about sports, but we got to move on to the next topic. I'm going to roll it into this. You know, we talk about the AFC being loaded. NFC is 19-13. AFC is 13-19. What do you make of that? You think we overestimated the AFC, underestimated the NFC? You think they're taking each other out? The NFC beast? I mean, Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. They're combined 7-1, and the only loss was to one another, Giants to Cowboys.
Yeah.
What do you make of this shift to where, like, sure, maybe the worst teams, Panthers, Bears, Cardinals, are in the NFC, but man, Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers, like some of the best teams are in the NFC too. What do you make of that stat that the NFC is 6 wins above 500 and the AFC is 6 wins below?
Couple things. So it is weird because I have 8 of my top 12 teams are in the NFC.
I have 7, but go ahead.
So we agree it's a lot.
More.
Yeah, it's more. So the one thing I will say here, and I don't have all the stats in front of me, I wish I did. The AFC has more better quarterbacks. Who doesn't play in the preseason? Quarterbacks. Who tends to struggle through the first couple of weeks? The teams that don't play in the preseason. There's a little bit of that. Okay. I think there's a little bit of this too, and I've said this a few different times. It seems like the AFC has all the quarterbacks, but the NFC have some of the most complete teams. Like literally, if you started talking to yourself, who's the most complete team in the league? Is it the Niners? Okay, right? Who's the next one? Probably the Cowboys. Like those are both in the NFC. They're very complete. They have just about everything you want in a team. The AFC doesn't have as many of those. Maybe the Dolphins come to mind, but I think you changed the quarterback out today. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. Do I think there's a shift early on? Yes. I think it evens out where the AFC takes the lead late in the season because the Commanders are 2-0. That does not
mean to the listeners, that does not mean the NFC team can't win the Super Bowl because maybe the best couple teams are in the NFC.
Yeah.
But, I was just curious what you made of that, and that marks down 3 of my topics. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, I want to overreact to 2-0 teams now. The Falcons, a team that I was initially very high on and had to regress. Go ahead.
I just want to say one of my topics is I had a question for you. 2-0 teams that will not last / not make the playoffs, and I have all 9 2-0 teams written here. I think that's a pretty good.
Open dialogue then. Where are you at on the Falcons? Are they stayers or goers?
I'll tell you what, I may be blinded because I love this mustache coach. I love the new defense. But overall, I am blinded by my favorite player, maybe in all of football, Bijan Robinson. But I am all in on the Falcons. They may not win the division, but they'll be playing in January. They'll be playing in the playoffs. Falcons will last.
I told somebody the other day that this team rushed for 50 different times. They rushed 45 times. But is that sustainable? Literally 45 carries. That just doesn't seem like it wins in today's league. They have Desmond Ridder playing quarterback. That's clearly the weakness. They're showing that. He's not asked to really throw it deep. They have playmakers, a lot of young playmakers. Drake London's looked pretty good. They still haven't really got Kyle Pitts going. That is a nightmare at this point because that draft class was so loaded and Pitts just hasn't panned out. But Bijan looks great. Absolutely looks great. He's the guy. But they're limited at quarterback.
Yeah. I'll take it back from you, too. Just because we spent some time on gambling earlier, one of my other takes is 3 words. Bijan fucking Robinson.
Yeah.
This man has 29 carries, 180 yards, 10 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. That means he's averaging about 19 touches a game, and he's electric. They haven't really got Pitts involved. Cordell Patterson isn't even really playing. This team has so much more potential offensively. And on top of that, they have a great coach. They have a home field advantage in a dome. They'll play a lot of good weather games. The defense, Grady Jarrett, Calais Campbell, Arden Key, Bud Dupree, A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates. This defense now can actually do some stuff. Bates
can.
So
they can.
I don't think this is an overwhelming team, and they're not in the Super Bowl bubble. But when a playoff runs 7 deep in the NFC, Falcons are here to stay.
This is why I was so high. If you remember, I accidentally gave them 11 wins. I had to regress them.
Yeah.
11 was too much, but I don't think they're here to stay.
Okay.
Next was sorry, I just lost him.
Sorry, I got them right here. If you want me to go with them.
Yeah, just read them off in order.
Saints 2-0.
I think they've looked the worst of all the 2-0 teams. Is that fair? They barely beat the Titans and they barely beat the Panthers. They look bad.
They're 2-0 and they have not scored more than 20 points.
I want to know how many times Derek Carr has done that in his career before going to New Orleans.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, my passion got in the way of one of my other passions. Manchester United played today, but I saw a picture and it was something like this. Derek Carr, when scoring 20 or less for the Raiders, is 34 and 81, 2-0 for the Saints. I saw it because remember last week, my take for the Saints was, when's the last time Derek Carr scored 16 and 1? Saints are doing it, man. That defense is real.
But is the offense real?
Hey, listen. Got to tighten some stuff up. We can't rely on one deep ball to Raheed Shaheed in the 4th quarter to seal games. But everyone's forgetting about Alvin Kamara coming back week 4.
Let's just say I have this team as the winner of the division. And I'm not so sure anymore.
Alvin Kamara is a difference maker. Everything changes for a defense planning against the Saints when Alvin Kamara is back on the field. Let's not forget, people are like, hey, who led the league in broken tackles in 2019? Was it Derrick Henry? Was it Nick Chubb, RIP? No, it was Alvin Kamara. He's a guy who can do it in the catching, running. He's suspended, man. He's coming back. And he disappeared last year a little bit because of no quarterback. This team's going to be – the only question is really going to be head coach. Is Dennis Allen a good head coach? I don't know yet. Bucks, NFC South number 3, Bucks.
I had to look myself in the mirror and check myself. If the Bucks were 2-0 and Tom Brady was the quarterback, how would I treat them?
Super Bowl champs.
Settle down. I had to give the Baker Mayfield Bucks the same respect. They're very good.
Really good.
They beat a very good Vikings team week 1.
No.
Okay. See what I did there? Who'd they beat week 2? I forgot. A good team. Why is it escaping me?
They
Hang
beat the
on.
Bears. They beat
Hang
the
on.
Bears by 10.
Oh, never mind. Not a good team.
Yeah.
But
Pick six.
they beat the Bears by 10. I don't know. I like the Bucks right now. I like them. They have a pretty good week 3 matchup. I think that's why I was getting confused. Their week 3 is
Eagles Monday night.
Host the Eagles Monday night. Great game. Can't wait.
Yeah. I like the Bucks. I honestly I just feel like it's the most mature, level-headed Baker we've seen.
1000%.
Like they're 2-0. He's thrown for like 300 and some yards
Per game.
and we haven't heard anything from Baker Mayfield in the media. I just think what he's doing down there with Bruce Arians in the up top and the Todd Bowles, I just think it's the best thing we've seen from Baker. And to be quite honest with you, he's got 2 dogs at receivers, and maybe there's questions on the back end. Maybe there's not. This front 7 is still that front 7. They still have Shaq Barrett. They still have Vita Vea. They still have Levante David. They still have Devin White. You can't just run on this team. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to get TFLs. And, man, we don't need Baker to give Mike Evans a season in week 2, 6 for 170. But, man, if he doesn't turn the ball over, it's never going to be an easy win versus this team. And I've just loved what they've seen. And the problem is I love the Falcons, Saints, Bucks. I want to say all of them will make the playoffs, but that's next to impossible. Yeah. And the Falcons and Saints, both of one of their wins are on the Panthers. Rookie Bryce Young, no real offensive juice. So I do need to see more, but I think what we just recapped on 3 teams is really big thumbs up to the NFC South minus Panthers. They've really played well.
Yeah. And the Panthers unfortunately just have a rookie quarterback that they're trying to figure out.
Not to just go too crazy on 2-0 teams. You can hit them as you want because this is just if they're going to last or make the playoffs. Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys.
Easy.
Yeah.
They're all great. They are who they thought they were.
Yeah, we'll touch on them when we do the every team little comments.
Yeah.
They were there last year, the year before. They'll be there this year. They're all 2-0.
Real quick, though, just on the Eagles, because the Niners and Cowboys are they're very good. The Eagles, the one thing about them, their passing game, not their passing game, sorry, their pass defense. The losses of players in the offseason is starting to actually show. Mac Jones was able to throw the ball on them, and I thought it was kind of because the Patriots are good. Not so sure. And then this past week, Kirk Cousins was able to move the ball pretty much at will. Now Baker Mayfield comes in or is going to host them. Just makes me wonder, is Baker going to have a big day? Is this pass defense just not good enough? Because, you weren't able to hold Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. There's a lot of AFC quarterbacks if you're going up against them in the Super Bowl.
I was going to get to this later, but we're here now. Why wait? Spoiler, the Eagles have fallen in my rankings after a W. Jeff pointed out the losses last season. Forget that. Let's talk about the losses this season. Bradbury, the safety who has the green mic and calls the plays, concussion. Nakobe Dean, IR, out for 3 to 4 weeks. Middle linebacker to replace TJ Edwards, gone. James Bradbury didn't play last week. Maybe the best slot corner in the league. Argue who you want, but Avonte Maddox is in the top 3. Gone for the year, torn pec. This team is susceptible on defense. D-line, elite. 70.
Jalen Carter might be the steal of the draft.
They can do what the Giants did when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. We'll rush 4 and drop 7 every time, and maybe that works, sure. But this is not the 15-2, 14-3 Eagles of last year. They are beatable, but it's going to take everything and more to beat them. But they are just not they're just not a steamroller this year. True what you said about the Eagles there. Stick to the NFC East. Commanders, what a fun team.
Yeah, I just don't buy this team. I think their coach is outdated. I'm not sure what to think on their quarterback. Their pass rush is really good. I'm just not impressed by what they're doing. They beat the Broncos. That's not very impressive to me. If this team had 6 wins all year, that would be great for them.
Yeah, so the Commanders, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank. My computer wouldn't load here on who they beat the first week of the
The
season.
Cardinals.
Okay. So they beat the Cardinals and they beat the Broncos.
Yeah.
Let's not call those teams dumpster fires, but let's call them dumpster fires. I mean, they're just not good. But I will say, I don't know. I don't think it'll last. But before the season, I did like Sam Howell, and I'm proud of how he's played. They're going to have to play better competition. Their next two games, you ask, Bills, Eagles.
We'll find out.
We are going to find out quick. But what I will say is not the Steelers, not the 49ers, not the Cowboys. The Commanders lead the league with 10 sacks and 20 tackles for loss.
Yeah, they have a great defensive line.
Right. So I just want to say when you have a good D line, there's a lot of things that open up defensively. Will this offense be able to beat great teams? I don't know. But it was a little weird, scary. A Cardinals team with a bunch of no names, new quarterback, ran a scheme, was crazy. They ended up winning. And then the second, third, fourth quarter, outside of a Hail Mary, they manhandled the Broncos. I'm just saying they're better than I thought, but that doesn't mean they're a 9-win team. They're just better than 4 wins. I'll look at them around a 6-7 win team until I see something otherwise. This next 2 weeks will tell. But what a nice little treat if you were able to bet on the Commanders the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I lost money on them last week. Last two teams, AFC, Ravens, Dolphins.
Yeah. I don't remember if I ended up having the Ravens win the division, but I was very high on them. And then the Dolphins I had winning the division. So not crazy. The Dolphins do a lot of things very well. And if they get to December and Jalen Ramsey is able to come back and Tua is healthy, it's week 2, so I don't want to overreact, but it's what we do. They might be the favorites in the AFC if they're looking how they do right now, like the favorites in the AFC.
Yeah, and I'll actually roll this since we're just kind of moving from one thing to one thing. Great transitions somehow today, but the Dolphins. My last take was the Tua stock going up, and the thing is it's just like, oh well, guys, it's because he has the weapons or the coach. And that's his team. What do you want him to do? I mean, that's all we can judge him on, and this team's like 11-1 with Tua as the starting quarterback since Mike McDaniel's come over. Now, cross your fingers on his health. I think maybe the judo training has worked. I've seen him take a few hits or bumps after the plays that he's really taken well. I know it seems corny, but it does seem like it's working. But I'll say this too with the Dolphins. It's easy to talk about Tua and Mike McDaniel running from a camera on Sunday night and Tua launching deep balls and Tyreek being the cheetah and Jalen Waddle and this and that. Vic Fangio with Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb and Xavier Howard and Van Ginkel and Javon Holland. God, you'd have been like, well, what if this team traded for Ramsey? That'd be crazy. No, he's already on the fucking roster, yo. He's coming back at Christmas. Like, if this offense had a bad day, the way they're playing right now, a bad day is like 23 points. The defense could even win them games. This is a complete team. The real questions about this team is A, Tua's health, and B, Miami coming out of Florida in the winter months during the playoff time. Will it slow down that offense too much? But until then, this might be one of the best September-October teams we have. Maybe even from last year to the next couple years. This may just be the best September-October team we see. They've been playing phenomenal. And if they stay healthy, sky's the limit for this Dolphins team.
Next take I had was kind of more just like a shout out, just like Nick Chubb's injury Monday night, the week before Aaron Rodgers season-ending injury, the Monday nighter to close the year last year, DeMar Hamlin. Monday nighters have been kind of a jinx. Injuries all over the league, running back injuries. There was this story that come out that the NFL is going after the NFLPA for suggesting that running backs fake injuries. Opinions, non-opinions, anything on that?
I saw what they're basically using too. It was like a J.C. Treader comment, which if you guys don't know J.C. Treader, he's a former offensive lineman from the Browns. He's the head of the NFLPA.
Yep.
And basically he was just kind of talking to where like some players were like, how do I, not risk injury, but still get, try to get paid fairly. And basically he was saying that like, if someone brought up the idea of faking an injury to where they don't have to go to camp and training, he was basically like, I'm never going to recommend that, but I can't honestly tell them that that's a bad idea. You have to do what you have to do to get paid. So this is ugly. All I can say is, as a fan, we just want this to end as soon as possible. There's nothing good that can come from this. The last thing we want is the NFL and the NFL Player Association. That's what NFLPA stands for, Players Association. They're basically a group that represents the player side of things. It's like if you were on a team, you would complain to your captain would complain to the coach. If you're in the NFL, you complain to the NFLPA, they bring it to the owners. It's a nice middleman to kind of keep people anonymous, but still get the message across. We as fans want these two groups to go simultaneously. Do I think players from week to week fake injuries? No. Do I think players on contract years trying to negotiate fake injuries? I can't say I wouldn't. So I do think there's some truth to it. What will come out of this, I don't know. Hopefully it's something good, but this is the last thing we want, again, as fans, is for the NFLPA and NFL to not be in lockstep. It's the worst.
Got anything else?
Nope. Steelers, Bengals, Vikes, Tua stock, Bijan, NFC AFC 2-0. Those are my 6 takes. We touched them. All of them.
All right. Top 12?
Sure. You want to do top 12, then touch on every team, or every team, then top 12?
Let's throw a mailbag in here randomly.
Sure.
You ready?
Always ready.
Well, we have 57 minutes. Mailbag. Here we go. Okay. First one comes in from Jamie Lato. Thanks for listening, Jamie. Thanks for writing in. Are Denver's defensive struggles on Vance Joseph's system or just bad players? I don't think they have bad players. I think they have an offensive team that is struggling to be offensive, that was led by their defense last year. Will probably be led by their defense this year. They're not really running the ball. I just think that the team's not really in sync right now. Their game plans are kind of probably contradicting each other. I don't think it's Van Joseph.
Jamie, I'll be honest, I don't watch the Broncos enough to know if it's players or the coach, like defensive DC, the defensive coordinator. But what I can say is it is not all on the offense. What the offense has done over 2 weeks is they've grown, offensive line has gotten better, and they've gotten to the point to where the plays that Sean Payton has scripted to Russ in the first half, they are working, and they're playing well. The offense just needs to be able to build to put together a second half as well. Hopefully that will come. I trust Payton and Russ, even if some don't. However, this defense was talked about last year as, man, if we score 19 or more points, we win.
Yep.
They lost Bradley Chubb in a DC, and I'm not saying it's all on Vance Joseph, but it's very hard to replace Vic Fangio. This defense is not what it once was. It's not a top 5 D, might not even be a top 10 D. You watch, and in your own mind, you think to yourself, if you even think it's a top 16 defense. But I would imagine that if I was the Denver Broncos and I was told before the game we were going to score 33 points, that we would have beaten the Washington Commanders. So the whole team is in disarray, and I feel bad for Broncos fans. But at the same time, whether it's injuries, all the change, all the new, all the different, there's just a lot of problems in a division that, like, even the Raiders are doing kind of good. Chargers and Chiefs are still better than you. It's just tough time for a Broncos fan right now.
Yeah,
Tough time for a Broncos fan right now, man.
I don't know. It was a pretty rough fourth quarter for the Broncos. I just don't think their defense is bad. It might be an outlier game. We'll see.
I'll tell you what, Jamie. I'll just say this since we're on the Broncos. I'm a little bit worried because I do think the Broncos are kind of shit. Yeah, they're 0-2. We were talking earlier about what it means to be 0-3. I'm gonna do a little exercise with Jeff here. Jeff, Broncos are 0-2. This week they're at the Dolphins. Win or loss?
It's a loss.
Okay, so that makes them 0-3. Back-to-back road trip. They're at the Bears.
They're gonna win that game.
Okay, they're back on track. 1-3. Do you know the Broncos' schedule as I go through this? All right, so let's call them 1-3. The next week they host the Jets.
The Nat Hackett Super Bowl.
Nat Hackett Super Bowl.
They're gonna win that.
Okay, so they're 2-3, and Broncos fans are like, you know what? We're not dead. And then it's their season. Sunday night at the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
They played them tough last year, but no, that's not.
Yeah, so they'll be 2-4. Then they host the Packers.
It's a toss-up game.
I'll step in here. I'll give it to the Packers. They're then 2-5. Then they host the Chiefs again.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, they got the Broncos Jets in there, but like, if you think that the Packers are better, they have Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs, like in a 3-week stretch. Like, I just think there's a real chance that, like, I'll say this for Broncos fans. For you, your season could be over long term. And I'll also use this as a moment just to say how I feel about it. I never let sports, like, I feel like Jeff might be different here. You cheer for your team, Super Bowl is the only goal. Is that how you view the page? It's the Super Bowl or the season, like, you know what I mean?
Not depending on the circumstances.
Yeah.
With Tom Brady lace up, yeah, it's Super Bowl or bust. Now I don't view that.
Because I've always used my sports teams to enjoy the week leading up to a game. Like, even like last Sunday, people the whole time, I feel like a lot of Steelers fans had their day ruined bitching about the offense. I got an entire night to celebrate the defense. Like, you just have to find ways to get small victories. And I'm only bringing that up because I feel like the Broncos fans need this advice. You don't have Peyton Manning anymore. You don't have Von Miller in that defense anymore.
They do have a quarterback they have to start paying next year.
And you've got Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert in your division. So I worry about you, Jamie. Just keep your head up week to week. Enjoy your Broncos.
Quick breaking news. Cam Akers has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings for a swap of picks.
Wow. They're still not a playoff team, but that'll help them.
I knew when I tell you this story, you were going to just shit on it. That's fine.
By the way, we take this moment, Twisted Tea. Wherever you are at, stay twisted. Okay, go ahead to the next segment.
Let this little moment go viral. Twisted Tea, if you're not sponsoring this pod, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Got the vodka, got the lights. I don't need any money. Jeff don't need any money. Send us a care package.
This podcast in the last week has grown 2,300%. They went from 0. Kyle Miller writes in, who had the most disappointing start of the season, barring injury? Is there a player, a coach, or a team? So not including injury, because that would be Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't realize. I'm a little twisted. So I was thinking barring. I was like, it's the Jets. What are we even talking about? Barring injury.
So we're not allowed to use injury. Who's had a disappointing start to the season?
I got it. I know my answer. 100%.
I think it's got to be the Broncos.
I disagree, but not a bad answer.
You just brought in Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning head coach, because of a quote unquote bad coach team last year. You haven't even started paying your quarterback that you traded the farm for. And here we are 0-2 talking about basically winning only 2 games over the next 2 months. Go ahead.
My team is 0-2. My team is 0-2 in conference. My team is 0-2 who hosted a game this year. My team is 0-2 who scored 58 points and have had 0 turnovers and have failed to win a game because of our head coach. The Los Angeles Chargers being 0-2, I'm starting to sweat. I'm getting mad about it. The Los Angeles Chargers are the biggest disappointment through 2 weeks in the NFL, and I don't think it's close. This team was ready to knock off this generation's, post Tom Brady's GOAT. The Chiefs were having a down year. The Chargers, the team we're supposed to buy into, all pros everywhere, defensive head coach, defensive spending, players on offense, Keenan Allen's healthy. You score 60 points, 58 to be exact, through 2 games with 0 turnovers and have 2 losses. And all of a sudden your season's on the line in week 3? Kyle Miller, the Los Angeles Chargers are the biggest disappointment barring injury because exactly 0. Well, they didn't have Austin Eckler week 2. Okay. The Los Angeles Chargers are the biggest disappointment through 2 weeks in the NFL. Period.
I will leave this little note on that comment. They're 0-2 in the coaches that they've gotten beaten by, Mike McDaniel and Mike Vrabel. 2 coaches that we both really like, and 2 coaches that are easily the highest grossing coaches, like moving up the charts over the last 2 seasons. Like people are taking looks at these guys like, oh, okay, they're just trending up at this point. They're doing things that other coaches are like, ah.
If you're a Chargers fan and you're listening, though, good news is you're going to be 2-2 with another chance at this season. So take advantage of that.
They're dropping 0-3.
I might cash out of my bet on FanDuel and pay you instead of the books on that one if you really are certain. I'll give you the fucking points, Jeff.
What are the points?
It's 1.5. I actually have them up too if you wanted to do points, but it's 1.5. They're basically saying
1 o'clock Vikings at home against that horrible Chargers defense. Yeah, I might have to put some cash down. All right.
They're going to have Cam Akers full of problems.
I believe.
That was good. If you were listening, I hope you chuckled. I thought that was good.
We have a slight issue because this was shared a bunch. There's another question. I'm trying to find it.
Just remember it. Why Jeff looks for that post and comment and shares his thoughts. I just want to say that in a world where you could be relaxed and you could be calm and steady and you could just be flowing through the time of the day, why not take the day by the neck and make it twisted? Twisted Tea. This podcast is brought to you by Twisted Tea, sweet tea whiskey, and sweet and Twisted Tea Light and original, raspberry, peach, half and half. They got all your flavors for every time of the day. Just go ahead and take the time to make it twisted. You ended up finding that, Joe?
I did. Next question comes in from Dave Hazelton. It's the twisted question of the day.
By the way, I'm going to be working. I'm going to be scratching my brain. I'm going to come up with something poetic to read during these little downtimes.
Love it. Is the problem with the Steelers offense Kenny the O-line or Matt Canada? You kind of talked about this. Go ahead and rebuttal or whatever.
If there was a pie chart, it's 80% Matt Canada, 20% Kenny Pickett. I think Canada's too complex. He wasn't good in college. He wasn't good in pro. He wasn't good in diapers. Matt Canada has never been a good offensive coordinator. But there are times where Pickett has had a chance to overcome that and doesn't. I'll take something from Dan Orlovsky. Maybe you watch the Pat McAfee show. Maybe you don't. But there was one time, Casey laughs when I point out stuff like I should be diagnosing these plays. Kenny Pickett walks up to the line. He looks to the right. In man-to-man coverage is Denzel Ward versus Allen Robinson with safety over to the right. You look left, there is no safety help. The number 2 corner is on, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but George Pickens, the guy who is him, absolute unit. Kenny takes the snap and throws a 50-50 ball to Allen Robinson. It's broken up. You have your best receiver versus their number 2 with a 4-inch height advantage, and you throw it to Allen Robinson. And you can say, well, maybe Matt Canada said the play was supposed to be there. Be the quarterback of the fucking team. You got a C on your chest. Throw it to number 14. So I could go into depth more, and I'm not going to break it down a lot. But, Dave, I'm talking to you here, and you know what I'm talking about. We want Kenny to be good. We're optimistic guys. I don't know you personally, but I know enough. You're optimistic. A simplified offense where we just give the ball more directly to our best players. Let Kenny just be a point guard. He doesn't have to score all the points. Just let him get it to the guys who will. And it's 80% Matt Canada, 20% Pickett, but this is Pickett's 8th start. We have to remember that too. It's Matt Canada's 3rd year as the OC, and it's been dog shit since he's taken over. I don't want to be a homer, but I just say this. Big Ben already lives in Pittsburgh. Let him come back and fucking run the offense. If you can't find anyone else, let Big Ben get 2 weeks with Kenny, move Matt Canada out, and let Ben play it. Because Ben, like Kenny, likes to escape the pocket. Ben couldn't do it later in his years, but Ben liked to extend plays. Kenny needs a 1-2 read, not 3, 1-2 read. It's not there. Escape the pocket. Figure out if you need to run or throw it. Let's make some plays. Backyard football. Hey, you throw a pick 20 yards down the field, guess who's behind you? TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Minka, and the boys. We got the defense to be able to have problems, but we're the only team. Dave, I'm talking to you. You might have seen this. I'm talking to everyone else. Listen. Jeff, how many teams are in the NFL?
32.
31 teams have had a first down in the first quarter.
Holy hell.
And we've won a football game.
It's tough.
Okay. I don't think you can put that on a quarterback. And I don't care what you think about the running backs. We start 11 NFL fucking football players. We should have a first down in the first quarter. But we got an absolute unit on defense. And we're wasting it with this Matt Canada guy. 90-10 Matt Canada. I changed my opinion.
So I'm pretty good knowing what teams we've talked about. Okay, and what teams we haven't. So I'm just going to bring up some teams and you hit me. Giants.
They are, as Stephen A. Smith would say, Saquon Barkley and a bag of chips. And they don't have Saquon Thursday.
Yeah,
this team is disappointing, but I will say, to be optimistic a little bit, you want teams to improve. And through 6 quarters, they had 0 points. And then in the second half, versus what most people think is the worst team in the NFL, I don't care.
Yep.
Wow. We saw what they're capable of. We just need more consistency out of a $40 million a year quarterback, and we think he's overpaid. Tell you what, in about 3 years, we're going to think Daniel Jones is cheap. The quarterback market's just going up. I don't think 40's overpaid. Brian Daboll, I trust him to figure it out. Trust this offense, but they need Saquon. They don't have him versus the 49ers. They'll be 1-2. But I'm telling you right now, I've always had a soft spot for the Giants, and I think it's because of Saquon.
Bills bounced back and beat the Raiders. Anything to add on the Bills? I thought they looked pretty good.
Josh Allen still got to cut down in turnovers. He didn't have any versus Raiders, but I'd like for him to cut down overall. But the Bills have always struggled. The Jets are built to make it difficult for the Bills. The Jets are built that way. There's 30 other teams I feel good about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and that's why they were a lock at 8.5-point dogs. And they were down 7-0. I almost doubled down on my bet on FanDuel, but I chilled out. The Bills are going to knock out 8 opponents this year, beat another 6, and lose to 3. The Jets just have their number. By the way, real quick before we move on, Josh Allen leads the entire NFL in completion percentage.
Colts. I'll start. I think Anthony Richardson is a hit. They've hit.
Parentheses, just want to peep in because it's my only contribution. Maybe Cam Newton 2.0.
So you think he's going to work, just to be clear. You don't think Cam's a bust, right?
I think he is a powerful human who can run. He's not blazing speed, but good luck getting him to the ground.
Yep.
Who can throw here and there, will have explosive plays. Twice a year, you'll be like, what an awful game.
Yep.
But you want the Colts on your television now, and that is more than I thought you would want.
And they'll be better when they get Taylor back.
100%. I love watching the Colts. I love watching them so much from like a heart happiness, like just how enjoyable they are, that I don't even want to waste time predicting where the team will go. Yeah. I just love watching Anthony.
They'll be bad mostly because there's so many growing pains. New coach, new quarterback.
Man, how do you not love watching this Anthony Richardson play? He's just lightning in a bottle, man. He's so good.
The weird thing is I had a parlay on Sunday.
You and your parlays. I'm going to say it every time you say it. You and your parlays.
Yeah, took a couple of dogs, took a couple of favorites, and there were two people that I had as a lock to score. One of them was Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown. Boom. And he got me two of them.
I'll say this real quick, just backtracking to gambling and what Jeff said. Every time he says he has a parlay, and I'm going to say you and your parlays. It's going to be something you see on the podcast.
Yeah.
If you are a parlay guy and you want to minimize reward but also minimize risk, do your research on round robins. Go ahead and keep going, Jeff.
I don't think we've talked about them. Ravens beat the Bengals this week. Where are you on the Ravens? Not enough yet? Do you think it was a convincing win? We'll talk more about the Ravens in a minute, I'm guessing?
No. I was just looking because I had Justin Herbert as my offensive player of the year. But it's the only spot where I wrote a parentheses because I fought for about 30 minutes about putting Lamar Jackson there. Justin Herbert, or Jalen Hurts. Great quarterback that they're cutting down on his running, and it seems a little weird. Justin Fields, bad quarterback that can be electric. He doesn't have electric anymore because they're cutting back on running. Everyone wants to sit there and ridicule Lamar Jackson for his lack of elite throwing. But the team never stopped letting him run. They never did. And that's why Lamar has an MVP and they win 85% of their games. Lamar's a nightmare for everyone except the Steelers. I love what Lamar's doing. This Zay Flowers guy.
He good.
What a find.
He good.
Rashawn Bateman hasn't even been playing a whole lot, but with OBJ kind of getting tweaked up, they didn't get him for the first 8 games. They won him for the last 8. Mark Andrews is back. Oh, but J.K. Dobbins is going down. Jeff could play running back for him. No shot, Jeff. But it all revolves around Lamar. It all revolves around Lamar, and no team can prepare for him. In the playoffs, it's different. It's always different there. But when you talk about September through Christmas, the Ravens are a fucking problem. And they're so good at football. And this defense will always be good enough under John Harbaugh. The special teams will always be good enough. They have the best kicker all time, except for Adam Vinatieri because of what he's done in the postseason. They are so good. With that being said, as a Steelers fan, I don't fear them one bit. But the Ravens are so good.
Lions beat Chiefs, and then they have a hiccup with the Seahawks. I just think that this was a bad spot for the Lions. I said it from the get. I felt so good about the Seahawks coming into Detroit and beating them because they had more urgency. Lions were naturally going to be more relaxed, and now they potentially lose CGJ for the season. Lions, go ahead.
So I'm just going to kind of ballpark this with both teams here just a little bit. When these two teams meet, they met last year, they met this year.
Electric.
And you can say, well, Brad, the Seahawks won both games, so you know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to win. All I'm doing is when that game hit the final whistle, I put my hands together, and I looked up, and I said, please, in the playoffs, can we get Seahawks-Lions? These two teams, when they meet, forget how to play defense. They just don't. It's 60-plus points and That is with your. If you're not a Lions or Seahawks fan, how did you not enjoy that game? Seahawks inevitably have their number. If you ask me, it got a little weird with the refs late, but I'm not going to put it on that. CGJ, huge loss for the Lions. But again, the Lions still need a deep threat. They need Jamison Williams to come back. I may say that for the next fucking 4 weeks till he comes back. But I love both of those teams. And spoiler alert, we do our 2 fans 12 teams rankings. They'll both find a way onto my list. Seahawks had and here's the thing too. Oh, Seahawks had a downer week 1. Rams might be players this year, boy. Rams might be players. So maybe it wasn't a stinker. Maybe they were just the first team to get got by the Sean McVay, Matt Stafford Rams. Loved what I saw out of both teams. Someone's got to lose. It went to OT. The leading rusher played for the Lions. The leading receiver played for the Lions. The leading passer played for the Seahawks. Somebody's got to win.
Yeah.
That's life.
Packers. I don't have a ton to add. I just think that the Falcons are better than I thought. But I thought the Packers played great too. They had an early lead, let it up.
Yeah. We've touched
I will say this. You were high on the Packers. They're not as good as you said they were, but they're better than I thought they would be. I think they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the Falcons. I'm going to keep moving on. Everything I've said about the Falcons, I've wanted to say.
Yeah.
The Packers. It would have been better for me on my preseason talk if the Packers would have won this game.
Yeah.
Because here's what hurts. You go into Atlanta and you're up 24-12. Somehow give that up and you're down by 1. And this is what people aren't talking about either. Down 1. 2-minute warning. 1st and 10 by the offense. Couldn't get a first down. We need to see better situations out of Jordan Love. Now it's on the road in a dome. Okay, let's experience, move on, get better. No Aaron Jones, no Christian Watson. Can't give up that lead, can't lose that game. Falcons are good, but I would love to see this no starting left tackle and Bakhtiari. You lose Jenkins, your second best tackle or offensive lineman card. Christian Watkins don't play, no Aaron Jones. You still scored 24. I'm going to say injuries got the best of you. I'm going to give the Falcons the win on injuries because they got the win. I'm not out on the Packers. I feel great where I'm at 10-7 with them. Jordan Love, let's get us in field goal range next time.
A couple more teams here. Titans bounced back, beat the Chargers. I don't think the Titans are very good, but they're better coached than the Chargers, which is why they got the dub. Not too much more on them.
I listen to a couple of podcasts and I make my own lines, like I said earlier. And sometimes I put money on the bet line on FanDuel. And I'm like, Chargers are going to win. Brad, bet the Titans +3. But the Chargers are better. Brad, bet the Titans +3. And I bet the Titans +3. And all I can say is there's probably about 70 guys that could have got the Titans head coaching job that would have been 1-72 by now and been fired. Yes, this last Sunday was another reason why Jeff and I always preach Mike Vrabel is such a good coach. And I almost feel like it's being thrown away with this fucking wide receivers and this quarterback. It makes me so outside of the Steelers, I know I love the Colts and we fight about it. If Mike Vrabel won a Super Bowl, he does so good. That team punches you in the mouth, hits you hard. But again, I do want to point out, I said the Chargers are the biggest disappointment. Did you watch this Chargers-Titans game?
I did not.
It's 3rd and 1 for the Titans. Derrick Henry cannot find oxygen. His chest is coming in and out about 6 yards. He's trying to breathe so bad. He's on the sideline. Tajee Spears is in the huddle. They break the huddle. 3rd and 1. Do you know who Brandon Staley coaches? The Chargers.
He did not call a timeout.
All the timeout. Derrick Henry came in and got 3 yards.
I had no idea what you were about to say, but I was like, he called a timeout.
Derrick Henry got some water, fucking cracked the fuck, got a little party starter in him, walked in and said, I dare somebody to get in front of me. 3 yards first. Brandon Staley needs to be fired. But the Titans, man, that team is so well coached, nothing comes easy. It don't matter who plays them. Do not sleep on the Titans. Love Mike Vrabel. I would go to war for Mike Vrabel, and I don't even know that much about him.
Browns.
They're paying $50 million for a scrub, baby.
It's crazy.
We beat
R.I.P.
his
Nick Chubb.
ass. Let me talk my
R.I.P.
shit.
Nick Chubb.
Y'all Browns. I don't care who your coach is. I don't care who your GM is. I don't care who your quarterback is. I don't care who your players are. You come into Pittsburgh, you catch the L. That's all I'm saying.
I think this is the last team, Raiders. I thought they looked solid week 1, but it turns out the Broncos are bad, and they just got absolutely obliterated by the Bills.
I got to be honest, backtrack. I know Baker beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Okay. But you got rid of him for Deshaun. Thank you. The Raiders. I think the Raiders are just the easiest team to say they suck. And they beat the Broncos. But you know what's worse than suck? Dog water. And that's what the Broncos are right now. So
Yeah.
But with me saying that, I don't want to talk too much shit because we'll see y'all at 8:20. Chris Collinsworth, Mike Tirico on the call in Las Vegas, which, by the way, wait to see how they point out the terrible towels are in that building. That's a home game for the Steelers.
You seen the line?
Good luck, Jimmy G. I'll take Steelers on the money line. Go ahead and favor the Raiders.
They're favorite.
Go ahead.
Raiders are favorite.
Number 90's coming for that ass. You better hope Devontae gets over that concussion protocol. That's all I had to say, Dano.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Top 12 teams.
2 fans, 12 teams. Let's
to
go.
me.
By the way, these 2 fans, 12 teams.
Yeah, so last week we went from 1 to 12. I'm going to do that again because I think there's more suspicion towards the back end. I'm going to keep it this way.
P.S. Like we told you guys, we don't really talk to you guys. Like we don't talk before the pod. We're just shooting shit. Jeff hits record. You saw it earlier if you were with us.
Yeah.
Record. We have a good time. Like, Jeff, I'm telling you now, we're going to do 12 teams the whole year.
Easily.
Okay. Let's go.
Number 1. I think this is the best team in the league. I said that this was... Do not mouth my number 1 team. Do not do it.
Some people listen on Spotify. They never would have known.
But he did it. He mouthed my team. It's Cowboys. You haven't even seen an offensive performance and don't act like they can't give one. Don't act like they can't do it because they can.
You can. I love doing this pod. I could do another 3 hours right now. I'm just saying.
Jeez Louise.
I'm in a good mood.
We could easily go another 3 hours. Niners 2. Brock Purdy doesn't lose unless he's basically injured without an arm. Niners on the money line Thursday night, lock it in. Number 3, the best AFC team that I've seen, one of the most complete teams in the entire league, Dolphins. Here's where things get a little tighter, but I still like my next 2 teams for sure. At 4, I like the Eagles. We haven't even seen them play their best ball, which is kind of scary. I don't think we've seen their best, and they've won against 2 pretty good football teams. I know they're both 0-2, but I still like the Patriots and the Vikings as regular every week opponents for some teams. Those are good. Those are tough outs. Number 5, Ravens. Best team in the NFC North right now. I know they played the Houston Texans, and I know they played the 0-2 Bengals, but that Bengals win, that's going to do good for them. The Bengals are way better than 0-2. Great win.
Are they?
6. I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. Beat the t-shirt. Now I'm not converting to Bucks. Let's settle down. I just happened to throw on a comfy Tom Brady shirt. If Tom Brady was quarterbacking the Bucks, where would I have them? I got him at 6.
But he's not, bro.
I got him at 6.
I hope Christian's listening to this pod, bro.
Got the Bucks at 6.
Any Bucks fans I know.
Got the Bucks at 6. They deserve to be there. Number 7. This is where things are going to get a little weird. You're going to be like, what the? This team obliterated one of my favorite teams on the year. And then week 2, they go against my number 2 team. I got the Rams at 7. That game was tight late in that game until they ran out of steam. Rams at 7.
Have you said Eagles yet?
Yeah, I said Eagles 4.
Oh, sorry. I put it on the wrong team. Keep going. Sorry about that.
You're good.
That mistake was brought to you by Twisted Tea.
My 8th team beat the Lions this week and lost to my 7th team in week 1. They just were not ready. Seahawks at 8. Seahawks are very good. The week 1 was an outlier. Number 9, Kansas City. Kansas City beat one of the better teams in the league. I really like the Jags this year. Week 1, they were without Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. It showed. KC 9. Number 10, this team's 2-0, but it's the most unimpressive 2-0 of all the teams, in my opinion. It's even less impressive than the Commanders, but I still think this team has better top end. I got the Saints at 10. Okay. Number 11, division foe. This is crazy that in the top 11, I have 3 NFC South teams. I have the Falcons coming in. They've been very complete. I have worries about the quarterback, but everything else is an A+ for me. They haven't even hit the potential of some of their young players. Falcons at 11. Team 12. Week 1 was rough. A lot of people writing them off. I understand why. Do not sell your stock. The Buffalo Bills are still filthy. Got them at 12. I gave, real quick before I turn it over to you, I gave a lot of precedence to 2-0 teams, and then I tried to fix in the teams that I just was still high on that have a win this year. 0-2 teams obviously aren't going to get any respect right now. And there's some 1-1 teams like the Lions and probably who else? The Packers.
Jags.
The Jags that I just left off. And truthfully, maybe they deserved a spot, but I like the list right now.
This is what I love, guys. You listen to a lot of talk show radios, and one person gives their tiers or their rankings, and you either agree or disagree, and most of the time it's like that's just where you stand. Jeff and I, as we pointed out in episode 1, we did Real Talk podcast before this. 3 years of it. Jeff, this might be the most different our Real Talk rankings have ever been. And we're just going to get into it.
Do you know why I think that is? Real quick.
Because you're going based off win-loss first, and I think.
Yeah, right. But I think what's throwing – I knew ours were going to differ. I just knew it. Some of the best teams don't have wins.
Yeah. By the way, those of you who are keeping along with us, I know Jeff just tried to say best teams. That's adorable. Bengals and Vikings weren't on his list. Bengals and Vikings weren't on his list.
If I hear another peep of Viking slander from you, I will come through this damn screen.
All right, so number 1, I have the Vikings. I just think they're elite. I think Kirk. All right, I'm gonna get into it for real. Let me put it this way. The one thing Jeff and I do agree on is the top 3. We just have a different order. Number 1, I have the Dolphins. The reason why I rank the top 3 teams is basically just how I value their opponents. So the Dolphins beat Chargers and the Patriots. I think those are 2 good teams, but I have them ranked highly, the same reasons as Jeff. Number 2, I have the 49ers. They beat the Steelers and Rams, but I have them ranked highly, the same reason you do. And the Cowboys. who have beat the teams 70-10 and have every right for number one, have beat the two New York teams that I just don't think they're good. So that's the top three teams, though. I don't care who's listening or whether you agree with Jeff, me, agree with yourself. The 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins are any order of 1, 2, and 3.
Totally
Period.
good.
I'm not going to plant my flag on a hill of one of these teams. I'm simply ranking basically the teams they beat. But the Cowboys have crushed their teams worse. Here's where our lists just go all sorts of random. Number 4, best coach, best quarterback, Kansas City Chiefs. They were without Travis Kelce and Chris Jones and still should have beat the Lions. Kadarius Toney was a double agent and the Lions escaped. The Chiefs are the 4th best team in the league. I believe they will continue to prove that, and they may even get higher. Number 5, I have the Eagles. They've fallen one spot for me, one away from Jeff. But quarterback, great. Coach, okay. Still new coordinators. Here's what I do know. When the Eagles show up, their O-line is better than yours, and their D-line is better than yours. Odds are their quarterback is too. So they're going to win a lot of games. Number 6. This team is built to destroy 30 teams in the NFL on defense. But in the first 2 weeks, they played one of the teams they're not. The Buffalo Bills are at number 6. It was a bad performance by Josh Allen, and it still took a punt return in overtime to beat them. Maybe it's premature to put them at 6, but in 2 weeks, everyone will agree. Jeff pointed out, don't sleep on the Bills. It's been 2 weeks. Of course, win-loss can throw this all over the place. I still put the Bills as a top 3 team. I have 3 NFC teams and 3 AFC teams in my top 6. Dolphins, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles. Let's move on. Number 7. The Ravens, a team that wants to replace the Bills and absolutely could if the Bills screw up. I think the Ravens will struggle a bit in division. I think the Browns and the Steelers match up well with them. But everywhere else, teams that do not see Lamar enough will struggle. Zay Flowers is an absolute unit. Mark Andrews is a dog. Lamar is a unicorn. This offense will go. The defense, despite injuries or names, will always be good. The Ravens at 7. At number 8, I kept this team here. Wasn't on Jeff's list, but it's the Jaguars. And the reason why is because the Jags in their last 9 games are 7-2. And their 2 losses are to the Chiefs. Maybe they'll figure it out, maybe they won't. But if you aren't the Kansas City Chiefs, good luck. Number 9. I didn't want to put them here. I didn't anticipate them ever getting here. They absolutely deserve it. The Los Angeles Rams are number 9 on my list. Their only loss is to the number 2 team, and I feel they're going to crush an 0-2 team on Monday night. It is one of my 5 locks of the week, Rams plus 2.5 against the Bengals. I would get it before they announce Joe Burrow's out. I don't know if he'll play. A little bit much on the forward. But Sean McVay, we have to have questions about Cooper Kupp now. Is it Cooper Kupp or whoever receives the number 1 wide receiver role in this offense led by Sean McVay and Matt Stafford? Either way, they got an elite head coach, elite quarterback. I think he's elite anyway, when healthy. And they have maybe the best defensive player in the NFL. A lot of you would say he is in Aaron Donald. Number 10, a team I wrote off after the first week because they lost to a terrible team. Turned out not to be terrible, the Seattle Seahawks.
Real quick, before you keep going, the only difference at this very moment for our top 9 is you have the Jags and I have the Bucks. Everything else tracks, I think.
Right, but the numbers, like you had the
Yeah.
Bills 12, I had the Bills at 6. You
Yeah.
had Chiefs at 9, I have them at 4. Like you have the Rams
Yeah.
at 7, I have them at 9. Seahawks at 8, I just meant the numbers are at least 2.
They are. They're very weird.
Yeah. The only actually Jags, Saints, and Bucks are the 3 teams. Or you had Saints and Bucks. I have Jags, and we'll get to the Lions, but I
Keep
still
going. 10.
10 is the Seahawks. I thought they were dog shit. Geno was bad. They weren't going to work because they lost to the shitty Rams. Turns out they're not the shitty Rams. So the Seahawks are back at 10. Those 3 teams have played a lot of division games. They're going to be really good outside of division.
Yep.
Cardinals will be winnable, but the rest are good. Right after 10 at 11, I have the Lions. 1-1. They lost to a good Seahawks team. And, man, a couple plays go their way, they win. Those 2 teams get together. It's electric. Lord willing, they'll meet in the playoffs. And number 12, I wanted to put the Chargers. I wanted to put the Steelers. I wanted to put a couple teams that I really do think are good enough that haven't showed it, but I couldn't. It's the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons land at 10, or 12, excuse me. The NFL's hard. Every team has good players. And the Atlanta Falcons have found a way to win both their games. And again, they have one of my heartbeats in Bijan Robinson. And I love watching this Falcons team. And I had a couple people over at the crib on Sunday, and we had like 6 games on. That got shrunk to 2 when I saw the Falcons get the ball back. I just need to watch the Falcons. Love watching them. Love Arthur Smith. I still like Desmond Ridder. Number 9's my favorite number. He played at Cincinnati, home, close to home. Bijan's my guy. Again, these fluctuate from week to week. I'm never scared to take a team off or add a team or move a team. The Falcons deserve 12, and you could argue the Saints could. They're 2-0 as well. But they failed to score 20 points, so I'm going to put the Falcons in over them.
What we do, we pod. We bust shit out.
I'm going to add one thing here. You didn't know we were going to do this, and you don't have to live and die by these. People tuned in long enough. I'll give them my pick. You give them yours. Giants at 49ers. 49ers minus 10. Got to pick it on the spread. Again, guys, this does not mean Jeff bet on it. I will tell you what I bet on it. And you're like, Brad, it's Wednesday when this is being recorded. Guys, I get my stuff in before the line moves. I consider myself a sharp. I'm positive for 3 straight weeks. Trust me if you want. I'll let you know where my locks are if I feel like it's a lock. 49ers host the Giants minus 10.
So I did not bet the spread. I did bet the money line. I have no problem admitting that. I have no problem filling you in on what I bet. My exact bet was everything in my account at 221.11. I put on the money line for the Niners. Doesn't pay out a ton. It's going to pay out about $40, but it's a free $40 in my opinion. As far as the line, I do like the Niners to cover, but the NFL's weird, and I didn't want to put a ton on that. So
I bet early. I got it at minus 10 on the dot. No hook. Again, when I say hook, that means that 0.5. Mm-hmm. And hooks traditionally only matter to the magical numbers, and there's 4 of them. 3, 7, 10, 14. This is 10.5. I got it at minus 10. I bet double. I think the 49ers will cover. No Saquon, no left tackle Andrew Thomas. It'll be simplified game plans. Who has a better quarterback, running back, line, receivers, D-line, middle line, coach, 49ers across the board. Take the spread. Bet what you want. 49ers. Browns minus 3.5 hosting the Titans.
Titans on the money line.
I could say,
right.
Do you want me to go first since I know what I bet while you think about it?
I haven't bet it. I like the Titans on the money line there. I like them plus the points easily.
I may go back and see what my cash out rebet options are. It was +3 when I bet it. Love the Titans. Better coach. Guys, we really have to look ourselves in the mirror. Even quarterback? Would you rather have Ryan Tannehill or Deshaun Watson, what you've seen over the last 8 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more ceiling for Deshaun, but when's the ceiling coming?
Exactly. I love the Titans. Vikings host Chargers. Vikings +1.5.
I like the Vikings plus the points.
Yeah, Chargers are going to win by 3+. If you've listened to the pod, just about every 20 minutes we revisit that me and Jeff disagree on this game.
Yeah.
I got Chargers. Actually, I doubled this one as well. This is my second lock at the 1 o'clock window. I think the Chargers are a better team. Let's move on to game 3. Patriots at the Jets. Jets +2.5.
Patriots cover.
The Jets want to do a great job, but Zach Wilson struggles at doing the quarterback in the NFL thing. Patriots cover. I did not double this up, but the Jets want to win. The Patriots' season is on the line. Bill Belichick's record against the Jets. I think the Patriots are just more invested and have a better matchup. I also think the Patriots' best receiving options are at tight end. And the New York Jets linebacking crew is their weakest part of their defense. Jags -8.5 hosting the Texans.
Texans cover in a divisional game. A lot of urgency there. Haven't won yet.
This is one of 2 games I struggled to bet, but I do bet every game, so I had to come out one way or the other.
You do bet every game. There's some you just don't leave alone.
Last week I left the Commanders Broncos alone, but I bet every other game.
Yeah,
I traditionally bet every game because I feel like even if it's not wholeheartedly, I know enough to where I'll be positive. That's selfish of me. I'm not telling anybody else to take that advice.
Yeah, I personally leave this game alone. I think there's
Yes.
too many variables here. The divisional matchup scares me away. You could argue the Texans have actually played pretty good football. With a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, those things typically don't win a lot, but they could cover this. I'd leave it alone.
I think divisional matchup might scare you away. I love that the Jags host it. I ended up going Jags -8. I'm not going to convince you to bet it. I would say this is one of the 2 games to stay away from. Big spread in division. Mm-hmm. It's hard to take the Texans. It's just gross. But what I will say is the Jaguars have a really good pass rush led by Josh Allen, and Texans are set to be without their 2 starting tackles. So I think CJ Stroud, rookie in division, they see him, they know it, or they see the Texans a lot. I think this offense is too loaded for the defense. I like the Jags. I mean, they would have crushed the Colts by over 14 if it wasn't for a defensive touchdown. I like Jags here like 31-14 to win by like 17. Texans are still a top 5 pick in the NFL. The next week, I'd say get this before it moves. I'm going to take this instead of Jeff real quick. It's Bills at Commanders. The Commanders at 2-0 look real good, but their secondary is not there. But Brad, you talked about their front 7. Josh Allen can move. Their defense is the best defense Sam Howell's going to see. But right now, the Bills are -6.5 at the Washington Commanders. You want to get this before it may move to a touchdown. When it moves to 7, that's not going to be great for betting. You either want to stay away or get this game before it moves to 7. I like Bills -6.5.
Same.
They beat bad teams badly. They may struggle versus a good team, a team you know is going to make the playoffs, win their division maybe. Commanders
They
are
also have a great secondary. Young quarterback, doesn't pose well.
Next game, Baltimore -7.5 as they host the Colts.
Anthony Richardson may not play in this game. I just like the Ravens usually in games like this. 7.5 is too much. Probably the Colts.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but the way I looked at it is traditionally in betting, again, I'm trying to just tell you guys stuff that I've learned. In betting, they typically give 3 points towards the home team, which means if this was at neutral site, it'd be 4.5. I don't think this is a defense that can cause Lamar Jackson problems. I don't think they have enough. And if Anthony Richardson doesn't play, this line will move to like 8 or 9.5 because he's a quarterback. I hated how it was just over 7, but I'm not going to piddle around with it. Ask yourself, what's the final score? 31-17? 27-14? Either way, I like the Ravens here. Again, don't feel like you have to bet every game, but Baltimore is a nasty place to play.
Yeah.
And Lamar's starting to roll. This is game 3 now. They're going to get going. This is it. If this game ain't on your TV, you don't like football.
To be honest, if Anthony Richardson does play in this game, don't think Lamar don't look across the field and say, oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I do it better.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Good point. This next game, if you love football, you find a way to get a second TV, borrow a friend's account, and put it on. I don't care who you are. Get an antenna. The Atlanta Falcons travel to the Detroit Lions. Should be on local television. But the Lions are minus 3.5, just over that hook. What say you, Jeff Johnson?
Yeah, they lost their home opener because there wasn't as much urgency as there was for the Seattle Seahawks. The urgency shifts to the Lions here at home, looking to bounce back. I like them to cover. Probably, I could see this 24-20.
So this is nasty if you're new to gambling and you struggle with strategy, mind, heart, who I like. I do think the Lions will win. I also think the Falcons plus 3.5 is the play. What's more likely, the Lions win by 4+, or the Lions win by 3 or less, or the Falcons win? I like having 3 or less plus Falcons win. If you ask me, Brad, what's your real final score? I'm a little bit higher than Jeff. I say 24-21. Lions. Falcons cover. I think this is a game where in your ESPN Pick'ems league, or if you have to use them in survival, you take the Lions. But on the spread, you take the Falcons. I'm betting Falcons. Keep it low. Keep it simple. It'll be $11.50 to win $10. That's the bet I would recommend. Take the Falcons. No CGJ. Bijan Robinson, what he's up to. Again, you obviously, if you listen to the podcast, you know my heart. Love number 7. Before I mention it, this next game is the second game. 1 of 2. I already told you about the Jags-Texans, where I just toss and turn, but I came out one way or the other. Green Bay Packers -2, hosting the New Orleans Saints.
So much like what you just said a second ago, the side here feels like the Saints. I feel like I'm getting a better team, a better defense. Defense travels, okay? Running games travel, but I think the Packers' running game, unfortunately, is beat up. I don't like Jordan Love against this defense. I know they're at home. I like the Saints.
I went with the Saints because the Saints defense, it's real. I told everybody I could get my hands on to take the Saints defense in fantasy football. Through 2 weeks, they haven't exploded, but they've won with scoring less than 20 on offense in the real world. If Bakhtiari don't play, if Jenkins don't play, God forbid Aaron Jones ain't full health, we'll see about Christian Watkins. This is a game that I took the Saints +2. But if you are new to betting, I'd say stay away.
Yeah, I would stay away.
Honest to God, reevaluate the number at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday when we know who all is playing. Because if Watson and Aaron Jones are playing, I'm taking the Packers at home if it's less than a field goal. But my bet today, Saints +2, I agree. Get it while it's hot. The Dolphins, one of the hottest teams in football, by number 1, Jeff's number 3, I believe. 2, 3? Dolphins?
They're my 3.
Jeff's 3, my 1, neutral 2. They host the Denver Broncos. And right now it's just under the hook, -6.5 to the Dolphins.
Home opener. Defensive coordinator against his old team.
Bradley Chubb versus old team.
Miami's pretty hot right now. Literally temperature. I like the Dolphins by at least a touchdown here.
Denver, who played at home last week, 7,000 feet above sea level. Miami, 6 feet above sea level. Coming down in altitude to the heat, your sidelines in the sun, facing the fastest team in the league. I like Miami 27-13. I think all hell breaks loose for the Denver Broncos after this game. We'll see what happens. But if it's under, I prayed to God. I said, give me 7 or less when I open this app. It was 6.5, and I hammered it. Next game, the Carolina Panthers travel all the way to Seattle. Seattle -6. What say you, Jeff?
I think it's an easy cover, at least a touchdown here. Rookie quarterback on the road at one of the loudest places in the country, any stadium you can pick out. It's an easy cover. They can win by at least a score.
You have no offensive explosion. You're playing against Bobby Wagner, Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, that defense, and then that offense with no real threat on the front 7. Pete Carroll's out there. I got it at 5.5, which I know half points. You're like, Brad, whatever. If you know what gambling is, everything matters. Seattle covers. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We're going to go to back-to-back, Jeff. Mind I tell you, 12.5 point spreads. Chiefs -12.5 hosting the Bears. I'm going to keep this short. Chiefs, go ahead.
I don't like college spreads in NFL games. They make me nauseous, but this one I feel great about. Chiefs by at least 2 scores. And don't you think for a second Mahomes don't remember you passing on his ass. You took Trubisky. You took Trubisky. He remembers.
And just because the spread's big at 12.5, guys, that doesn't mean I think it's a nuke. 27-13. Cover.
Yep.
Moving on. The next big spread. Cowboys -12.5 at the Cardinals. What say you?
40-0. 30-10.
I'll say this. I think the Cowboys cover as well. I bet both of them. They're massive spreads. It's crazy. Maybe you just want to pick the Chiefs and Cowboys, tease them down. I don't care. But here's what I'll say. I said this stat on Real Talk, our former podcast, 2 years ago. The Chiefs, 12 starters. Brad, they only play 11. I'm going to count the nickel corner outside of the linebacker. 8 of the 11 players were clocked at 20-plus miles per hour. This defense, if you hesitate for a second, you're done. And the way Dak's playing and CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, I know I had him at 3, and I said because they beat the New York teams, and they're going to fucking dominate the Cardinals, so I don't know if they'll move on my power rankings. The Cowboys, through 3 games, may have outscored their opponents by 80-plus. This is a cover. The Cowboys' defense is too hungry and just too dominant. Moving on to Sunday night, 3 games.
Real quick, just because this is something I really like to do. If you're between passing on this because there's no plus money to be made. If you think Dallas wins by 2 scores, 13.5 is plus 105. You can get them for plus money at 13.5. They're winning by 2 scores over the Cardinals. Bet it all day long. You can even get crazy odds if you're willing to go 16.5 if you think they'll win by 17, plus 147. Jeff Halbert has called me 2 different times because during this pod, both times I text him podding, he probably think there's no way you've gone 2 hours, but we're closing in on 2 hours here.
Yeah, it's fun. You guys can skip through, find what you want, but Jeff and I, we're having fun on this pod, man. That's what Two Fans 12 Rings is about. Let's just having fun talking football. Sunday night here, Steelers go to Las Vegas. I said to Las Vegas. You're a fool if you don't think it's going to be a home game for the Steelers. But Raiders minus 2.5, Jeff, under a field goal.
Steelers feel like the play here. I do like the Raiders more than what they showed last week. This just feels like a tough game. I feel like the value is in betting the Steelers. I personally probably stay away from this game because I think the Raiders are better. I don't think the Steelers are as good, but the 2.5 feels like something the Steelers cover. Gun to my head, Steelers plus 2.5.
Yeah, not much has changed from last year. They go to Jimmy Garoppolo. The Steelers still have Kenny Pickett. It took a last 2-minute fourth quarter drive by Kenny to win the game like 14-12. But again, even if it's that close, you'd assume this is going to be a close one. Neither team has the capability to blow a team out. So I'll take the team getting plus points and the team that's on the sweatshirt I'm wearing right now. So take that for what you want. I got Steelers money line, but Steelers plus 2.5. You'd love this to go up to 3. Steelers. Tampa plus 4.5 hosting the Philadelphia Eagles.
This passing game can be passed on. Bucks are at home. Baker's playing great. You'd think a regression is due. I'm getting more than a field goal here. Bucks at home plus 4.5.
You're getting 4.5. I bet it at 5.5. Gotta take the Bucks.
Yeah.
Their O-line's going to be able to compete with the D-line, and the passing game is susceptible for the Eagles. Last game, Rams at Bengals. I think everyone knows how we're going here, but the Bengals minus 2.5 at home.
Rams are the play. The Rams are the play until the Bengals show me otherwise. I would not bet this game because it would not shock me if the Bengals won by 3 scores.
I'll be honest, guys. I hammered the Rams money line.
And that's
I don't
fine.
even know if Joe. Right. I don't even know if Joe Burrow is going to play with that calf, and it hasn't been announced yet. But even if he does, Aaron Donald puts him off once or twice. I don't think. I said it before the season, and I'm going to say it after week 2 when he was coming up limping. I think the calf is a problem. Rams.
Rams. If you're betting this, Rams are the bet.
Forget Higgins, Chase, Burrow, Mixon. The Rams defense is not equipped to deal with what we've seen from the Rams offense.
Yeah. Well, it's episode 2, and we just went 2 hours and 2 minutes. So, holy cow.
Hey, man, we're just 2 fans with what, Jeff?
12 rings, baby.
That's what we do. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We're out.
Peace.
Make some money.